Welcome to Living a Life by Design. It's the journey back to you and living 365 days of purpose with your host, Esther Graham. Did you know your accountability and possibility is by design? God designed a phenomenal life for you, gave you the gift of choice. Esther helps empower you to discover and pursue the purpose that is already in you. Are you ready to look at yourself and see your future? Then get back to what is really important in life and get in alignment with your true self. Stay tuned to Living a Life by Design. Journey back to you and start living 365 days of purpose with your host, Esther Graham. It all starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Living Your Life by Design with me, your host, Dr. Esther Graham. I'm so super excited that you made the decision to join me today. I have a very special guest, and I'm going to have her reintroduce herself because I don't think I could do it any justice. But what I will tell you, that our conversation today is going to motivate you. It's going to propel you to go to that next level. So everyone, please welcome, show her some love, Marie Incontrera. Did I say the last name right?
Close, Incontrera.
Incontrera. Incontrera. So of the Growth Speak Agency, Marie does a lot of wonderful things in the world. We met, it's been about a year and a half now, maybe about a year.
About a year
And a few months, and I have to tell you, she's doing some great things for me, and I had to ask her to come on and not just be a guest on the podcast, but she's also a guest speaker at my next event, which is Your Next Is Now. And as I told y'all before, is that I'm only bringing in powerful women who are ready to pour into you to help you take your business, your life, wherever you are, to that next level and to be in action now. And so, Marie, please reintroduce yourself. Tell us everything that you're doing in the world.
Thanks, Dr. Esther. I'm so happy to be here. So I'm Marie Incontrera. I'm the founder and CEO of Incontrera Consulting and the Growth Speak Agency. I'm in my 10th year of business, and what we do is we help with all things visibility. We do digital marketing, so LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, all of that. And we do speaker training and placement. So we get business owners placed on stages that will grow their businesses. And we do PR as well. So those are all the things.
In a nutshell, right? Just all of it. So one of the things that Marie didn't share, and I'm just going to ask her just to tell us about your background, because that's what I find to be so interesting is how you got to your company, but where you were before that.
Yeah. So I do not have a business degree. I do not have a background in business. I have a music degree. And the thing they don't tell you in music school when you go for your master's in music composition, which is what I have, which is music writing, is that you can be playing at Carnegie Hall, which I was, and my music was being performed all over the world. I was getting commissions and all of that, and you can be broke, which I was. I was coming home with $15,000 on my tax returns. And that's not a lot of money, especially in New York, especially as a person, who has no, family income or partner income or anything like that. So what that looked like was I had a $725 a month studio in Brooklyn. And coming home with about $1,300 a month from all my gigs and side gigs and all of that. So some days I couldn't afford dinner, right? I might eat a 2-slice special for lunch and then maybe a bag of chips for dinner, or just whatever was in my pantry, ramen, all of those things. And I thought that was going to be my life. And then a friend of mine, her name is Dory Clark, and she's very well known in the business space. She's a coach and a consultant. She sent me a text message and she said, "I have an idea for you." And I was like, okay. And she's like, "Quit your job." It's like, Dory, no.
Not a good idea, right?
Yeah. Like, I don't think you understand how actually broke I am. But she had an idea for me. And that was that, I was already sort of filling Carnegie Hall with my marketing skills. Why not give that to somebody who can pay me? And I really thought about it, and I thought, I want to know where this is going to go, even if it's a failure. Right. So I took the leap and did it. And the rest is history. We started with 2 clients and giving me like 5 hours a week or whatever it was. And then over time, I solidified my offerings and just got feedback from the market and built things one offering at a time. And now we do all of these things that are, tried and tested and everything like that. We serve everybody from small business owners all the way up to enterprise and, the Fortune 100s. And that's how we got to where we are today.
I love hearing the story because I think that's one of the reasons that attracted me to you. I call her the money lady, right? So, and so, and so I was at an event in New York and Marie was there and I can't remember the title. Yes, I do. It had to do with money. What was it? No, you
It was
said
how to grow your revenue, right?
how to grow your revenue. And you said every time that I say this word, everybody say money and people, and so she just got the nickname, the money lady. And that's how, the money lady. And everyone would say money. And every time we would see
Yep.
her throughout the whole weekend, everybody say money. Every time. So good. But the story is just so powerful. And I connected with you, because I knew I needed to be more visible. And
Yeah.
so here it is. Marie now is really has made me much more visible with speaking engagements. I just want to make sure I let the audience know that you're a part of my life that's really helping me grow. And that's why I want you, invited you to come to the conference, because I know that what you've done for me, that you could do for anybody else if they're willing, if they're ready to be in action, right? And so your company, I know one of the things that you do is get people, as you said, on stage and on visibility. And I'm just going to read this. Why do you believe speaking is one of the most powerful tools for building a brand and creating income?
That's a great question. So people who are going to buy from you, they trust people, right? They're not buying from Festa Della Donna, they're buying from Instagram,
Yeah.
right? They're not buying from, the name of the coaching company, they're buying from the coach, right? And one of the best ways to build trust is to speak. And whether that's online, in person, digitally, what have you, I do a weekly webinar. I also, I'm traveling right now. I did not get paid to speak at this engagement, but I'm doing it because it's in front of my ideal client profile, right? And so I've seen it. I eat my own dog food, right? I do it for myself. I invest in speaking. I go and have FaceTime in rooms where my ideal clients are. And almost every speaking engagement that I've done over the past year has put me in the black and then some, right? And it took some time. It took about a year for me to really start to see the hockey stick because things take time. We met last October. We didn't start working together until November, and that's actually pretty quick. But I met somebody at She Leads last year, and last month she and I put together a partnership. So that took almost a year of time for that to come to fruition. So it can take time, but speaking is one of the best things that you can do for your business.
Yeah, and I agree. It does. It does take time, especially for that person who may have a fear of being visible,
Right.
or stage fear or anything like that. It takes time. And I think what I really like is that you really work. I've seen it, to where you really work with people as to what they're doing. You work with them on their message. And so you kind of
Exactly.
help them curate this whole picture, which is just absolutely phenomenal. It's interesting you said, because I think people need to hear it again. You said you eat your own dog food, right?
Yeah.
Because what I take from that is that you have to believe in what you're saying and invest in yourself. You're out, you're not being paid for that, but your ideal client. In other words, you believe in who you are, right? And you're
Yeah.
saying that this is, and I think many times, especially for our audience, many times we're looking at, well, I can't do this, I can't do that, what do you say to them? Do you understand?
Yeah.
Eat
Yeah.
your Yeah.
Yeah, and it's real. It's real because the thing about speaking is a lot of people come to speaking with ideas about it being the $4,000 suit in front of 5,000 people and all of that, right? They have aspirations of maybe being the next Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins,
Yeah. Yeah.
what have you. And the truth is, speaking is work, right? It is work. It takes time. It takes time away from your life. It takes time away from your, other things that you could be doing that might have a quicker ROI on your business. For example, every week I do a webinar. That's an hour of my time that I can't do anything else. I have to be focusing. Whether two people show up or 20 people show up or 200 people show up, I give it the same energy. And that, by the way, I consider that speaking, right? It is a presentation. It is something that will have an ROI on my business. The other thing that I want to say about this is that you have to have a business back end in order to make this worth it, right? I could send you to go speak at a random thing tomorrow, and if you don't have the retreats or the coaching or something else to lead people to, you're going to miss the leads that you have.
For
Um,
sure.
so the strategy behind it is looking at what the business is and what stages are going to be valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. You have to have something to lead them to. I like to call it the back of the room. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
exactly.
Like, I heard a coach say once, really it was my coach, Lisa, and she said when she was out speaking, and Lisa is a phenomenal speaker. She's all over the world,
Yeah.
internationally, everything. And she said, but one day when she first started, she's speaking and everybody was like, yeah. And a woman came up to her and said, so how can I connect with you? What programs do you have that I can connect to? And she looked at her and she said, I don't have anything. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
and the lady said to her, so you did all this great work, all this speaking, and you're just going to leave me like this?
Right.
There's, there's nothing that I could jump into if I wanted to get more and to learn more from you. And she said, no. And she said from that's when she realized that, wait a minute, I now need to do more. And I think that's what happens to many of us is that
Right.
we'll speak or we'll do whatever, but there's nothing where we lead the people to. Because what we have and the gift that we have and what we're sharing, others need it and they want it, especially when it's done in integrity, it's done in transparency and authenticity. They want that. I like what you said, that people don't connect to the company, they connect to that person.
Right.
You know,
Right. That's
and
exactly
so
right.
from that person, what is it that you can give them, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And, that's a whole other, there's a few strategies for speaking. There's brand building, right? There's getting paid to speak where you might go into a corporate situation and get a fee and that's it. But then there's the business owner thing, which is speak to sell,
Yeah.
right? And you have to have the business back end prepared for that.
Yeah, you do. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with Marie. Welcome back to Living a Life by Design with me, your host, Dr. Esther Graham, and my very special guest, Marie. We're going to continue our powerful conversation. Make sure that you have your journals and you're making notes, or hey, you could always listen to the replay and share it out with everyone. So, Marie, from stage to sales, you kind of touched on it a bit, but many entrepreneurs struggle to connect speaking opportunities to actual revenue. You kind of spoke about this just a few minutes ago, and let's just expand that conversation just a little bit more. And so, what are some ways, or that one can move from just being on stage and turning it into a message that can turn into money? And I want to set this up a little bit more in that when I say a message that can turn into where you can make money, here's the question. I don't want people to think, oh, speaking is just about making money, because that's what people think.
Sure. Sure.
It's more than that. I'm not going to go listen to someone on stage if they're not actually going to give me anything. When I say give
Right.
me something,
Correct.
you know, I- I'm not here to listen to your wonderful words.
Right.
or know about, how educated and hear how educated. Because I've been to places where I've listened to speakers and it's like, okay, what was
Right,
that?
right. Yeah, yeah. No, you have hit the nail on the head, and you've actually hit one of my pet peeves about speaking, which I'll probably get a little passionate here. Um,
Please do, please do. Yeah,
Audience members don't care about you. That's
yeah,
just the truth, right? They don't care about your story. They don't care. Well, they do care about your story if you can make them care. What they
yeah.
actually care about is what they get, right? They don't care about what you have to say, they care about what they're going to get out of it. And so you have to live in the world of people's pain, right? My presentation, the one that you and I met after, was called How to Grow Your Revenue. Now, what am I teaching people? I'm teaching them how to get more followers. I'm teaching them how to get more visible, teaching them how to get on stage. I'm teaching them how to get media placement. All that sounds like a nice to have. And you might say, well, I really kind of hate being on stage. This is going to take a lot of my time. I hate posting on LinkedIn. I'm not going to do it. But what am I teaching you? I'm not teaching you the nice to haves. I'm teaching you how these things lead to revenue. And as a business owner, there's no bigger pain point than money,
Yeah.
right? So that is how you always want to focus on the big pain, right? Don't get into the don't worry about the how of what you do and how you do it and why you do it. Worry about the outcome. The outcome is more money. The outcome, if you're a coach, it's better health, wealth, relationships, right? If you're a divorce lawyer, it's better relationships. It's also money, right? Focus on the pain points and the pain points that you can solve and talk about them in the biggest way that you possibly can. So in marketing, we call this the bleeding neck, right?
Mhm.
It's a little morbid, but if I wake up tomorrow morning, my neck is bleeding, what am I going to do? I'm going to call an ambulance. I'm going to go to the hospital. I'm going to get stitches or do whatever. Maybe I need surgery. I don't know. That's very expensive, but I'm going to take the most urgent solution because it's a big problem. Now, if I have a paper cut, I might not even put a band-aid on it. Okay. You can't be proposing paper cut solutions and be charging bleeding neck prices. It
Yeah,
doesn't work that way.
yeah.
So that's how you have to think about the message and the offer that you give at the end, book a call, whatever it is. What are you leading people to?
Yeah, I love that. I also love because here's the other piece. I think that many times as entrepreneurs, and
Mhm.
maybe going back to even to a previous conversation earlier, it's sometimes we're so focused on the money that we
Yeah.
sometimes even take the time to invest in ourselves.
Yeah. Yep. That's absolutely right. I think that the other thing about investment is that you can spin your wheels, you know, you using you as an example, you have a business, you have several businesses to run. I know what you do every day. You could go look for those speaking engagements. Are you the expert in that? Probably not, right? And on top of that, do you really have the time to do it? So are you going to do it well? No, or are you going to do it at 11 o'clock at night when you're exhausted? Right. So investing in help with the solution is something that can help you get further faster, right? And it's an outlay, but it should end up being like one of those machines. You put money in and you get more out kind of thing. That is the goal with this. Now, there's always a lag on ROI. You have to get practice, you have to get better, and all of those things. But eventually, if you show up at a gig that doesn't pay and it's in front of your ideal clients, you should be making money from that,
Yeah.
right? You should be starting to get people on your list. Even if they buy a year from now, I track all of that. I say, okay, so somebody I met last year at an event just signed with me. Okay, that's this number of revenue that I've gotten from this event. And that's how I think about it.
Yeah, I love that because sometimes we look at events and we say, well, I'm not really getting anything from this, so I'm not, but you have to
Yeah,
expand, you have to expand your thoughts with that and
that's
really
right.
look at the bigger picture. What do you think though is our barrier to that? Sometimes we don't think that way. I remember this is years ago that my husband said to me, he always used to say, Esther, to make money, you got to invest money. I was like, well, why do you always have to invest money to
Yeah.
make money? And I used to be, and this was like, my young days.
Yeah.
I really wasn't even thinking about entrepreneurship at that point. I was,
Sure.
graduated from college and, and ready to go get that big job. And you know how it is. And just, you're young, like some of the young people we see now, they're all ready. And then they get out there and it's like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so why do you think many times it's hard for us to see that? I call it that even as an entrepreneur, we have a scarcity mindset.
I agree. And it's hard, right? It's the numbers are real. I do it too. I look at my bank account every morning and I calculate what's in there, and it's hard to part with that, especially as an entrepreneur. I know you have employees, I have employees. I got to think about what I can afford because I got to pay people and uphold my commitments and also keep my house afloat. That's real. And I think the scarcity mindset can be real. And sometimes our instinct is to say, oh my God, this isn't going to work for me. And then we bring that on stage with us. One of my absolute favorite stories, this was actually at the event that you and I met at. There was a speaker there and she was standing in the back of the room and she was counting. I said, what are you doing? She said, there's only, and she said the number of people in the room. And I went, okay. Like, she said, well, this many people were supposed to have registered. I said, yeah, but people come and go, they leave, they come back. Not everybody comes to everything. Well, this wasn't worth my time. And I said, well, you haven't been on stage yet. And, I created, that was a life-changing stage for me. I went on right after her. Life-changing stage. I met you, I met all these people. I met Alicia, I met all of these people who are now my friends, my colleagues, my clients, my partners. She walked away with a self-fulfilling prophecy and she was like, I didn't make anything from this. I don't like anybody here. And I was like, well, you came up on stage and phoned it in.
Yeah, she
So
did. I love that. You came up on stage and you phoned it in,
yeah,
and when
exactly.
you walk up there, you take that whole energy, you know,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
believe it or not, people sense it. People, whatever it is, you just feel it. And it's like,
100%, 100%,
yeah, yeah.
you
So
know,
go ahead.
yeah, and it takes work
It
to
does.
not do that. It takes work to not bring the scarcity mindset on stage with you. When I do my webinars weekly, I'm okay, and I'm not saying this is a put on. I'm saying this is a mindset thing that I have had to work on. I am okay if two people show up.
Yeah,
One of them will book a call with me. I'm
yeah,
good. If one
yeah,
person shows up, they get a VIP session, and then we turn it into a breakthrough session, right?
yeah.
It's a little depressing when that happens for a second, but you have to get out of it. Otherwise, it's wasting everybody's time. And so just really understanding what you're getting yourself into and how to talk yourself out of that mindset when it happens.
Yeah, yeah. I know for me, like, especially like, getting back up and saying, okay, I'm ready to get back out there and I'm ready to speak now. I really had to work on myself because, for years I used to speak and then I stopped.
Yeah.
I went cold turkey and I stopped. And so now I'm getting back out there. And what I find is that I have to really watch the energy that I get up in. That
Yeah.
if I feel nobody really wants to hear what I have to say or blah, 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 I have to really watch it. I mean, and I have to talk to myself through it
Yeah.
until I get to the place where like, you know what? This is good. What happens, happens. I'm going to say, if I mess up a word, I just mess it up. And I'm just going to keep it moving. And
Exactly.
what I found is that, right, to
Hmm.
your success, it can be a
Yeah.
barrier to your success. So,
That's right.
yeah. So here's my next question. A lot of people hold back from speaking because of fear, fear of rejection or fear of not being good enough or fear of visibility. How do you coach your clients to overcome those barriers so they can confidently step up on the stage?
That's a great question. What I ask everyone to start with is service, right? It's not about you. And that actually usually really helps,
Yeah.
right?
I love
The
that. Yeah.
the big thing about public speaking fear is a real thing. People are more afraid of public speaking than death, which I think is hilarious. And the truth is the adrenaline that happens, it's significant. There's a chemical reaction happening in your body, and that can be really, really hard if you're not prepared for it and you don't understand what's happening. And so for me, the thing that I like to start with is, first of all, it is not ever about you as the speaker. It is about the person sitting in front of you. And that's actually a very good thing, because even if you trip a board, even if I stutter all the time. I forget myself. I get distracted when somebody walks into a room late, and then I have to get myself back on. And the truth is that has never hindered me from finding my people in that room.
Yeah, yeah. Or like I know, like for me, like I know I mess words up and all
Yeah.
kinds, and I'm like, okay, well, I just have to keep you moving. Even like, so my husband and I are pastors. And so one of the things that years ago, I guess maybe I still do it now, I'll get up and I'll try to quote a scripture and I'll say, listen, I don't know all the words to it. So, but you can look it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Look up yourself, and
Yeah.
just because sometimes it's like, and you're up there. And of course, you could go, for me, I sometimes go off on a rabbit trail. That's why, like, even with interview, I try to keep interview questions, but I know I'm going to go off and we're going to
Yeah.
I kind of like that because I
Yeah.
think it brings
Yeah.
the authenticity, and I think you just have to be comfortable with just, you know what? This is what it is. It doesn't mean that you
100%.
don't practice and don't know your content and
Right.
don't know, right?
Right.
That's really important for us to do that, don't you think? To know your content, no, but still be you.
100%. And people will appreciate that more than they will appreciate the perfection. They'll appreciate that they know you. I've been in every situation. One of my worst speaking engagements, and I'm using air quotes very, very literally here, is because it was in the loudest room I have ever been in. I had to eat the mic in order to be heard. I had to speak really slowly. 2 months later, I've gotten an enterprise client from that room. I met somebody who became a speaking client. I have built partnerships out of that room because I allowed it to not be perfect. And if you can do that, you will absolutely be more successful than somebody who comes in and goes, "Oh my God, this room is too loud. Forget it. I'm leaving."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's so true. One of the things that I really liked, something that you did with me, and is that you said to me, I think I was up speaking then, and I began talking about the different things, and you said, Esther, you said, I didn't even know you did all that. You really
Yeah.
need to include that in and
Yep.
this is what, you could really pull in people with just this. And I think one of the things that you're really good at is pulling things out of people because you're hearing. And for me, that was really powerful because I started thinking about, oh yeah, I do that.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you. No, I appreciate that. I mean, you have the curse of knowledge, right? And I remember when you and I first started, I thought you were a coach. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, she does retreats, she does coaching, she does this, which is true, you know, and then I heard you speak and you were talking about the fact that you have all these brick and mortars and you buy businesses and you have 35 employees or whatever the number was, you know, and I went, what? How did you not? But the truth is, right? You came to the table with what you thought would be valuable, and you also take for granted who you are, and I was like, "Oh, that is really special. We have to put that into the conversation. We absolutely have to." And you know, one of the things I really love about the work that I do is positioning work, right? Looking at what is going to get you put into the yes pile more often, because you know, all of this stuff is more competition than you can ever imagine, right? I do TEDx placement as part of my work, and even the small events, sometimes they get 500 applications. So, what is going to get you put in the no pile? It's like applying to college. What is going to get you put into the yes pile? It's your story. It is the fact that you are, in your example, right? You've now started several very successful businesses. You buy businesses and make them successful. And that's something that most people can't even dream about because they have no idea that that's even possible, right? So that is some of the work that I really enjoy because it makes me a better placement agent because now I'm in your business.
Yeah, yeah. And what I love too is that after you said it to me, I saw my little brother and we were talking. He's a banker, and we were just talking about acquisitions, and I said something about, yeah, I said, well, yeah, when I purchased, I purchased the center, blah blah blah. He said, you purchased the center? I said, yeah, I've got. He's like, why don't I know any of this? I said, well, I just don't talk about it, and I was like, I thought, I guess Marie was right. I don't,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And he said, how am I your little brother? And I don't know that. So you did all this? I said, yeah, I did that. And that.
yeah.
He said, Esther, that's what I work with people on. Did you know that? I said, no, I just thought that you're a banker. And I just, it's like,
Right, right, right. Exactly.
yeah, yeah. So interesting. So interesting. Listen, everyone, we're going to take a quick break and we will be right back. Welcome back to Living a Life by Design. I have my very special guest, Marie, and we are going to continue our juicy conversation. So, Marie, you're joining me at my event in October in Wilmington, Delaware, October 10th and 11th for Your Next is Now. So, at this event, I'm very clear on what I want people to walk away with. And so it's where we're going to be talking about clarity and alignment and being in action, because many times we always think about, I'm waiting for my next, but really your next is now.
Right.
If you're always waiting for the next, you're always going to be waiting for the next. It's always going to be someday. It's never going to be now. And so what does your next is now mean for you? And what can you share?
Well, when I hear that, I hear life is not a dress rehearsal, and we're always like, oh, well, you could do that later. You could do that tomorrow. You could do that whenever. And no, actually, especially as business owners, right? That means time is fleeting. I started with a new coach who was very focused. Actually, he is only focused on revenue, right? And he and I could not be more different, but I was hitting a break point in my business. I was not growing. And I said, I need help. So I hired a coach. We started working together at the beginning of December, and he said, are you doing webinars? And I said, no, I don't, because I'm not famous. I don't run ads. He said, if you're not doing that, you're leaving money on the table. I said, okay, all right, maybe I'll start in January. And he said, start now. Do it now. And I was like, well, we're gonna come up to Christmas. It was the week between Christmas and New Year's. He said, you're gonna be out ahead of everybody if you start now. And so I did it. I was like, all right, I'm gonna prove this guy wrong, right? I was like all on my high horse about the fact that nobody works during that week.
That's
10
my
people,
thought.
yeah, 10
But they
people showed
do.
up to my webinar
Yeah.
and two people
Wow.
signed as clients that week. And I was like, all right, I guess he was right. So for me, like the answer is do it now. It doesn't matter that it's the last week in August. It doesn't matter that it's Christmas week. It doesn't matter that it's, you know, I signed an enterprise client on Memorial Day because I was available. Nobody else was available, and I was the one who got it. Right. So that's the kind of thing that you just kind of have to pay attention to is that what can you do right now? That's what that means to me.
And so, and how would that fit into with, looking for new opportunities and using your voice to look for new opportunities when it comes to your next is now, right? I think the now part is the part where, you have to really step in and come out so you could see the opportunities, the new opportunities that's right before you.
Right. And I also I just want to recognize that especially in the work that I do, there is lead time on some of this stuff. So if you don't start now, in 6 months, you're not going to be on stage. Right. That's kind of the other piece of it. So like you want to be on stage, start today. Start right now. And then in 6 months, you'll be really happy. Otherwise, in 6 months, you're going to come to me really frustrated because you've lost 6 months.
Yeah. And what about for that person who says, well, I haven't started my business yet. As a matter of fact, I'm still in corporate America. I'm a C-suite,
Yeah.
woman in corporate America, but I do have a dream. I do have, while I'm in corporate America, I'm not ready to leave. I'm loving what I'm doing there. How can your nexus now really fit into what they're doing and using their voice to bring whatever it is that they want to come into their life?
Yeah, that's great. So I would say even if, in the situation of somebody being in corporate America, right? I work with people on that end too. You might not be able to do 100% of what you could be doing as an entrepreneur, but you could be doing 10% of it or 20% of it or 30%, right? Starting and taking the steps that you can will make the difference.
Um, because so when I think about, as I'm picturing like all of the women that will be showing up, and I like to say, and some men may be there too,
Yeah.
they want to come, they're welcome to come. Um, and so they're going to be coming in. Some are looking to reinvent their life, right? They're like, you know what? I've hit that glass ceiling. I'm done. Some are saying, is it too late for me to start? I'm this age. Is it, I mean,
No.
I got to tell you, at one point in my life, I think I shared it with you. I was like, listen, I'm just way too old for this. I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
tired. I just want to go sit on a beach. But yet there's always something inside that says, get your little butt up
Yeah,
and get
yeah, exactly.
and knowing that I cannot sit still for too long, like, no, but it's that place sometimes where you are. What would you say to, this room that's curated? It's with all of these women, they're all at different places. They're like, and some are saying, listen, I just want to come and I just want a life change.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, none of this is linear, right? No, you're all in the perfect place, right? It is never too late to start. I have this conversation with my mom all the time, right? Like my mom's in her 70s now, and she's like, "I wish I could come and work for you." And I'm like, "Mom, you can." She's like, "Well, I'm old, I'm retired." I said, "You could come out of retirement and work 5 hours a week for me and get a little bit of a taste of what it is like it is never too late because what's the famous example? Colonel Sanders was broke at
Colonel Sanders,
65,
yeah.
right? And started selling chicken by the highway and died a billionaire. That's the kind of thing. You don't know what is next for you. And the only way to guarantee that you keep in your circumstances is to not do anything.
That's what I think I love about the event that's coming up is that I think it's really going to put people into action. Maybe you're already in action, but it's going to make you
Yeah.
even into, let's say, more action, I guess. I don't know if there's a big word for it, but
Yeah.
more action. Or if you're not in action and if you feel kind of stuck and you don't know what to do, and you're like, how do I grow? I'm an author. How do I, grow this bit? How do I do this? I think that's what's going to happen there, that there's just going to be such a connection,
Right.
not
Right.
just with the speakers, because the speakers are coming are all phenomenal. They're going to pour in, but there's
Yeah.
just the overall connection as to,
Yeah.
what will happen there. If you're willing and open-minded I'd say you don't come in not open-minded. Listen, if you're going to come and you're just going to come with not open mind, you may want to think that through, right?
Yeah.
Because you come with an open mind in order to receive, right? In
Mhm.
order and to have that action plan to say, yes, I can do this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, and I think it's important, as you said with your mom, yeah, you can come out of retirement. You can do this. My sister is in retirement, and when she came to one of my events, and then she made a decision, I'm going to start my business. And so she started she makes, like a lot of my products I use at my retreats, she makes them for me.
Yeah, yeah, that's great.
All of those different things. But this is a person who is in, was like, I'm retired and, I don't know what I want to do. And, and finally said, whoa, I'm going to do this right now and loves
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and loves it. And it doesn't take a lot of her time during the day. She also goes to the beach a lot, and sits at the beach, but
You can do that too,
you
right?
can
Like
do that too. And
you can
she's,
look,
and she's doing something. And I just love that. And so I think about that room
yeah.
where it's that person, maybe that young entrepreneur that's still they're in their 30s.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What, how can we what is the message that we're going to give them, no matter where they are, as to what they can do, how they could use their voice,
Yeah, yeah,
that power that lies within them to just really propel them forward. And
yeah,
I think
exactly.
that you do, that's just so good.
Yeah. Thank you. No, I appreciate that. And and the other thing I want to say is that all of this can look like anything you want it to, right? It doesn't have to be, it's going to look different if you're in your 30s than if you're in your 70s. You can still go lay on the beach a
The
lot,
life by design, right?
So exactly.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Living a Life by Design. I'm so super happy that you are here. We are continuing our conversation with Marie from the Growth Speak. She's a founder, CEO of the Growth Speak Agency, or Incontrera
Consulting, yes.
Consulting Group.
Good.
Guys, you guys know I will mess a person's name up, not intentionally, right? It's just sometimes it's like I mess my Esther.
The long name. I'm like.
But so again, everyone, Marie will be joining me at my live event, Your Nexus Now, in October 10th and 11th. Registration is available now, and it is in Wilmington, Delaware. And Marie, I'm so super excited to have you come. What is the message? What can you share with our audience that if they're on the fence about coming, they're saying, oh, I don't know, blah, blah, they've got all these excuses, which is always a hindrance as to why you don't move forward. You could be busy being busy, and that's just a strategy not to move forward, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm busy being busy, it's like, okay, Esther, what is it that you're avoiding, really?
Yeah, I love it. Well, I just want to say I know it's going to be really fun because I know you do not skimp on the fun. So that's one thing, but you're also going to get a lot of value out of it, right? You're going to get really great sessions with speakers. You'll come away with a ton of value about, mindset and revenue generation and all of those things. And just join us. I mean, it's going to be great fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great fun. They're going to get, clarity, I think. You're going to be able, I think that where you're feeling stuck and you're feeling so confused, I think you'll get some clarity. And we talk about mindset. You're also going to get, where's your heart set? Because it does really have to be in alignment, And so all of these different things, I think is all going to come together to where you can, let's say, really make a serious informed decision about your life overall, your where you're going, what you're doing, and how do you want to do it. It's like, one of my guests said, looking at your future self, what is it that you want? What does your future look like?
Yep, exactly.
What do you want your future to look like, and how can you connect? How can you align yourself with someone or people or a coach that's going to help you get there, right?
Yep.
And I think that's what also they're going to get from that. So I don't want anyone to think that, oh, we're just going to come and we're going to just sit. No.
Yeah.
I mean, you are coming to rest, you're coming to have fun, but you're also coming to do some work. But good work, good work, right?
Exactly.
And so I think it's going to be just phenomenal with that. Marie, how can someone reach you if they want to connect with you outside of coming to the event? Because if you want to see her, you're going to come to the event and you're definitely going to see her there because she's going to pour into you there. And can I tell you, I call her the money lady. She's going to tell you how you could build your revenue. So if you're looking at revenue building, you're looking at, how she's got you with that. Whatever your business is, it doesn't matter. She's going to help you build that revenue, right? So, but how can people reach you? Anything that you want to share? Go ahead, Marie.
Yeah, love it. Well, look for me on LinkedIn, look for me on Instagram, all the socials under my first and last name. My website is incontrera.com. That's my last name. So incontrera.com. And you can find a little booking link on there. Reach out to me. I'm easy to find and looking forward to meeting all of you at the Nexus Now and also to connecting with you beforehand. But, come join us. It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. Thank you so much, Marie.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time. I know it's very, very early where you are. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you so much.
God bless you. Have a great week on purpose. Bye.
You have been listening to Living a Life by Design, the journey back to you, and living 365 days of purpose with host Esther Graham. Listen or watch live every second and fourth Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Discover that what is possible is already in you. God designed a phenomenal life for you. Esther helps you ignite that energy behind your personal journey for a deeper joy and peace, living 365 days of purpose. For more information on living a life by design, visit fddwomen.com.